call the meeting to order. This is Monday, April the 25th, and this is the regular meeting of the Municipal Council of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal for the month of April. And so the meeting is a combination of in-person and attendance by Zoom. And attending by Zoom, we had Deputy Mayor Tori Deschamps and the Treasurer, Ms. Melanie Stubbs. And in the council chambers present, we have the CAO, Mr. Grant, the Deputy Clerk. Oh my goodness sakes, my apologies. Candace Newcomb, and Mr. Spencer and Mr. Shaw, and also at their desk are Councillors Delabaugh, Councillor Cameron, and Councillor Hunter. So with those few introductory remarks, I'm going to call for approval of the agenda. And Deputy Mayor, I think you have that motion.
I do, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that Municipal Council approves the agenda as presented.
All right, the motion is on the table. Questions or discussion? Hearing none. About to call the question. Those in favor? Aye. And the motion is carried. Thank you. And so now I'm moving to item number 3 on the agenda, which is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Are there any disclosures here this evening?
None by me.
So the chair notes no disclosures, and the minutes will so reflect. At item number 1, the delegations and presentations, we have none this evening. So I'm moving to item number 5, which is approval of the minutes of the previous council meeting held on March the 28th. Councillor Delabaugh, I believe you have that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by Councillor Cameron. The Municipality Council receives and approves the minutes of regular council meeting dated March 28th, 2022.
Thank you very much. And so I'm going to, well, first of all, are there any errors or omissions in the minutes as circulated? So hearing none, I call the question, and then we'll deal with business arising. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Now I see someone else has joined us on the Zoom. And is that a member of the public, or who do we have here?
Through the chair, it's Mrs. Tamara Baldwin from the Volunteer Center.
Sorry?
Mrs. Baldwin from the Volunteer Center, United Way Volunteer Center.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much. So welcome to the meeting.
Hi, thanks.
And I'm at item number 6 on the agenda, which is business arising from the previous council meeting. If anyone has any business arising, does anyone have such? All right, seeing nothing coming forward, I'm about to move on to item number 7, which is approval of various committee meetings held, excuse me, approval of the minutes of various committee meetings held during the month or previous. And the first, of course, is the Public Library Board minutes, and we get them sometimes a few months late. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that Municipal Council receives the minutes of the Public Library Board meeting dated November 23rd, 2021 and January 25th, 2022.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Cameron is our member on the library board, and these minutes we receive, the board approves their own minutes. So questions, if any, for Councillor Cameron? Discussion, if any, coming forward. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, I just want to point out to Council that this has never happened before, but on page 15 of 101, there is a letter from Minister McLeod, just highlighting the fact that the $14,447 is our annual allotment from the province. That happens every year. I think just being an election year, the letter was sent out. So that's an ongoing situation. And I was anticipating questions, but I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you very much. Is it, and is the amount pretty much the same every year? Roger?
Pretty much, yes, every year.
Any other questions with regard to these two sets of minutes? Okay, I'm hearing none. So I'm going to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And we have now officially received those meeting minutes. So now I'm going on to 7B, which is the minutes from the Court of Revision held on April the 1st. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Councilor Cameron. The municipal council received the minutes of the Court of Revision dated April 1st, 2022.
Thank you very much. All right, and the minutes of the Court of Revision were circulated, and it's interesting that we have no appeals and no issues arising. Are there any discussion with regard to this set of minutes? Hearing none, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so I think we're inching one step closer to getting this project underway. So now at item number 7C, which is the minutes from the Committee of the Whole Community Development Committee meeting of April the 4th. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole Community Development meeting dated April 4th, 2022.
Thank you very much. So those minutes are now on the floor for discussion, if any, corrections, if any. Do I see anything coming forward? Hearing nothing, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor of receiving and approving these minutes, please indicate.
Aye.
I show unanimous support. And I'll declare the motion carried. And so now I'm moving on from there to item number 7D, which is the Committee of the Whole meeting, Administration and Finance, held on April the 11th. And Councillor Dillabaugh, I believe you have that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Cameron that the municipality council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Finance, meeting dated April 11th, 2022.
Very much. Now, are there questions arising from this meeting?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'd just like to draw your attention to the bottom of the page. It says Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities.
So it does.
Page 35.
So they call
Page
that,
36, page 37, page 38 to 41.
all right, so that, I think they call that a footer, which
It is.
identifies the meeting being described. So, I think we can approve the minutes with direction to staff to correct the footers. Would that be acceptable?
That would be acceptable if Councilor Cameron would just sort of a friendly.
A friendly change, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm not going to record that in the minutes or in the motion. And we'll approve the motion, which is to receive and approve the minutes, and then just issue a verbal direction to staff to correct the footer. All right, thank you very much for catching that. And I'm about to call the question then to receive and approve the minutes. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And the staff will be guided by the direction. And so now I think I'm moving to item number 7E, which is Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities. Environmental Services and Facilities, isn't it?
Public Works, Environmental Services and
I
Facilities.
see they have that backwards in the agenda here. But Councillor Cameron, I see you have that motion as well.
I do, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that Municipal Council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities meeting dated April 18th, 2022.
Thank you very much. Now, is there any business arising or questions arising from that set of minutes? So seeing none, I'm going to call a motion. Those in favor? Motion is carried. And just give me a second to get caught up here. Good. And now I'm at item number 7F, which was a public meeting on an application for a zoning bylaw amendment held on April the 20th. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Councillor Cameron, that the municipal council received the minutes of the public meeting application for zoning amendment 112-114 Dover Road meeting dated April 20th, 2022.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Now, so this was a meeting held under the Planning Act, the zoning bylaw amendment. Are there any questions arising from the meeting minutes or from the meeting itself? Hearing none, I'm about to call the question on the motion before the table. Those in favor?
Aye.
The motion is carried. Thank you. All right, now that concludes the approval of the various committee meeting minutes that were held during the month. And I'm going now to item number 8, where we're going to action some of those items that came forward from those committees. And so the first is item 8A, which is an interim control bylaw planning study. Deputy Mayor Deschamps, I think you have that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the interim control bylaw 2021-33 planning study be forwarded to council, in which the study recommends that the township carry forward with no further amendments to the official plan as they relate to the subject lands, except as proposed in the draft zoning bylaw as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Community Development.
Okay, and I'm going to ask, okay, so let's get that motion in front of me here. All right, now, is there any discussion on this motion? I'm just going to ask the CAO, Pete, to speak briefly to this motion. We're sending the bylaw to council, and so we'll see it later on tonight, will we, Mr. Grant?
Mr. Mayor, what was asked from that committee meeting was that just the study was forwarded to council. So the actual council recommendation to receive that study wouldn't come until the May 28th council meeting.
Okay, and the long and the short of it is we're not planning to do any further work on that area until it comes forward as part of the zoning bylaws. Do I have that understood correctly?
That is correct. I would anticipate that the council recommendation to receive the planning study would be at the same meeting that the comprehensive zoning bylaw would be coming forward to council, which we anticipate is May 28th.
Okay, so the motion itself that the interim control bylaw planning study be forwarded to council. I mean, that's the wording of the motion.
Correct. That was specific wording that was discussed at the community development committee meeting. Was not a recommendation for council to receive that study, but just that it is forwarded to council at this time.
All right, any further discussion on this? Otherwise, I'm going to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And now I'm at 8B, which is an application for severance on James and New Street in Cardinal. And Councillor Cameron, I think you have that motion.
I do, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that municipal council recommend in favor of severance B 23-22 Barnhart / Bailey and request that the following conditions be included. Number one, that a demolition permit be obtained and the existing mudroom at the rear of 4030 James Street be removed as identified in the application. Two, that a driveway be constructed on the retained lot in accordance with a grading and drainage plan approved by the township to show that water runoff will not have a negative impact on the adjacent land. Three, that the applicant obtain relief from provisions of the zoning bylaw to the satisfaction of the township as necessary to provide zoning conformity for the newly severed and retained lot and existing dwellings, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Community Development.
Thank you very much. And so we have this one coming forward, or is there any discussion here? Otherwise, I'm going to call the question. Those in favor? Okay, the motion is carried. Now, the next question is, I see that there's a bit of correspondence in association or in relation to that severance. Can the CAO just advise us how that correspondence will be dealt with?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What we wanted to include is this correspondence that we received on April 20th with respect to a concern with the proposed severance. However, the community development coordinator has responded to the county, and I think that through that process and with the conditions that council has put on there, I believe that sort of addresses the two concerns that were raised by the resident.
Okay, thank you very much. And so now I'm moving on to 8C, which is the 2022 community grants and donations, and a slight adjustment to the program as we concluded it at the Admin Finance Committee meeting. And Councillor Dillabaugh, I believe you have the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Cameron, the Municipality Council awards the community grants and donations as follows for the 2022 program. Spencer and Mill Foundation grant $1,100. In-kind request $7,010. South Grenville Bluegrass Festival grant $2,500. In-kind $2,000. Spencerville Scouting Group 0 grant and donation requested. In-kind $3,240. Girls Inc. of Upper Canada $1,000 grant, no in-kind. Food for All Food Bank grants and donation requested $2,000, in-kind $6,000. Rural Fast Support Network grant and donation requested 0. South Silversburg Recreation Association grant $500, 0 in-kind. Grenville Federation Agriculture 0 grant, in-kind $360. Royal Canadian Legion Spencerville Branch grant $2,400. Fluff Cotton Candy Company grant and donation requested 0. Johnstown ATV Club $500 grant. Volunteer Center of St. Lawrence Rideau grant and donation request $2,000. Total requests and grants and donation $12,000. Total request in-kind value, $18,610, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole and Administration and Finance.
Thank you very much. So motion is on the floor. Discussion if any. Councillor Hunter?
I just unfortunately wouldn't be able to be at the meeting where it was decided to go ahead. I have no problem with that. Just for my information, we have $10,000 in the budget for grants, and we're giving them 12. Where's that 2,000 coming from?
Okay, so I'll respond to that because we have a representative from the Volunteer Center of St. Lawrence Rideau here with us. And apparently what happened was that the Volunteer Center of St. Lawrence Rideau did request a grant of $2,000 electronically, and they received an acknowledgement that that electronic application had been received by us. However, it wasn't in front of us at the admin council meeting, in spite of the fact that, and the clerk indicated that she had reviewed all of the applications and there was no sign of any others than the ones that were in front of us. And the deputy mayor did question that. However, subsequent, and so as a result, at the admin finance committee meeting, we worked with the applications that were in front of us and allocated a total of 10,000, which was the budget amount. So subsequent to the admin finance committee meeting, it came to our attention that there had been an error, an electronic error someplace in our system, where the application from the Volunteer Center of St. Lawrence Rideau had not actually been received. And so the staff came back to us and said, how do you want to deal with this? And the way we chose to deal with it, and I think we dealt with it at the Public Works Committee meeting, was to just grant their application and increase our, well, we won't actually increase the budget line. We will just overestimate the expenditure on that budget line to 12,000, but the budget line will remain at 2,000. So that's basically what happened. And the Public Works Environmental Services Facilities Committee meeting felt that that was the best way to handle this inadvertent non-receipt of an application. I don't know whether that answers your questions, but I think I've pretty much summarized what happened. Mr. Grant, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess the only other part is that typically we felt that some of the line items under the council budget, such as mileage, etc., is usually or typically underspent. And the feeling is that
Overall,
overall those items were balanced.
So basically, we're taking it out of what we hope to be a surplus of administration.
Surplus of the council budget.
Yes, this line item is within the council budget.
Right.
Any further questions or discussion with regard to this item? Hearing none, I vote to call the question. Those in favor? Motion is carried. So to the representative from the Volunteer Center of St. Lawrence Rideau, we apologize to you that your application went amiss in the internet underworld. And we appreciate your bringing that to our attention and providing us with the opportunity to correct that situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor and Council and Deputy Mayor. We appreciate your support for our programs, and we very greatly appreciate being able to still be considered with our application going off into the Netherlands of the internet.
Thank you very much.
You.
Okay, so I'm about to move on here, and I'm now at item 8E, which is the Fort Town Night Run event. And Deputy Mayor, oh, wait a minute, hang on. I got to go back to D.
Yes.
Yes, which is the 2021 Water and Sewer System Surplus Reserve Transfers. Councillor Cameron, you have that one.
I do. Thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that municipal council approve and transfer of $283,000. Sorry, I've got that all mixed up. $283,295.93 from the general working funds bank account to the consolidated reserve fund bank account for the water and sewer reserve funds as a result of the 2021 surpluses in accordance to the table included herein. Account number 983803, Industrial Park Water, Wastewater, $31,924.70. Adjustment reason is add operating surplus. Amount of adjustment, $3,215.20. Adjusted year-end balance of reserve fund, $35,139.90. Account number 983804, Industrial Park Water. The balance prior to year-end adjustment was $107,769.97. Add operating surplus, $24,089.39 to a balance of reserve fund of $131,859.36. Account number 3806, Spencerville Wastewater. Balance prior, $337,000, $337,46.22. Add to the operating surplus, $39,047.87 to a balance of reserve fund of $376,094.09. Account number 3808, Cardinal Wastewater, $226,756.18. Add capital levy operating surplus, which is $90,070.77 for a balance of $316,756.95. Account number 3811, Cardinal Water, $780,043.33. Add capital levy operating surplus, $126,942.70 for a balance of $906,986.03. The total adjustments are $283,295.93 as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Admin and Finance.
Okay, thank you very much. So this will be the final year-end, December 31, 2021, year-end adjustments to a number of accounts. And are there any questions as a result of the motion coming forward? If not, I'm about to call the question on the motion. Those in favor, please signify. Okay, show the support. And the motion is carried. And I did just for the treasurer, we did at the meeting, Mr. Grant, I believe, asked that we receive now a updated reserve and reserve fund sheet showing our balances as of December the 31st. I think we asked for that at the meeting. Did we not?
Yes, yes, Mr. Mayor, with respect to the water and sewer and reserve funds.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll get everything on one sheet and that'll bring us right up to December 31st. Okay, so now I'm moving on to item 8E, which is the Fort Town Night Run event on Windmill Road. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor John Hunter that Municipal Council support and approve the request for a lane closure on Windmill Road during the Fort Town Night Run event on May the 7th, 2022. And notification be provided to affected residents as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities.
Okay, thank you very much. Well discussed at the committee meeting. Discussion here, if any.
Just one little sort of joke ad, if I may, Mr. Mayor. We probably missed this, but we should have recommended to Mr. LaRose that instead of it be called the Port Town or the Fort Town Night Run, maybe this year it should have been called the Port Town Night Run.
Yes, we didn't ask him to change the name, just the first letter. So I'm about to call the question on the motion. Those in favor? And the motion is carried, and very pleased that the port was able to accommodate Mr. LaRose's Fort Town Night Run this year on May the 7th, and hope that it gets good support, because the money that he raised is all for a good cause, donated to a number of charities which he has identified to us. And so now we're moving to item number 8F, which is the Honeywood Field installer and server upgrade. And Councillor Dillaba, I believe you have that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Cameron that the municipality council direct staff to purchase a Honeywell version 4 field installer and server system at a cost of $15,922.58. And invoice Rideau St. Lawrence 50% of the cost, $7,961.29. And use the Cardinal Hydro Reserve to cover any shortfall if the system is received in 2022, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Service, and Facilities.
Okay, thank you very much. So replacing an outdated or soon to be outdated, I believe it's a software hardware combination, Mr. Shaw?
Through the chair, it's actually a handheld controller unit and with the software.
So both. Okay, further discussion on this item, if any? All right, hearing none, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And now I'm moving to 8G, the John New Street Asphalt Repair Partnership. And Deputy Mayor Deschamps, I believe you have that resolution.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter. The municipal council directs staff to enter into a partnership with Ingredion to undertake option 1 with the upgraded PG 64-34 and SP 12-5, FC2, PG 64-34, and cover 50%, which should be 46,650 plus non-rebated HST of the estimated 93,300 cost before HST, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, well discussed at the committee meeting. Further discussion here, if any? Councilor Cameron.
Just a question, Mr. Mayor. We had also indicated that we may be talking to the counties regarding this as well. Has that taken place? So
That's correct. And although there was a meeting at the United Counties, the director was absent because of his mother's funeral. So I'll be dealing with that the next time I'm in Broad.
thank you.
And I believe the staff is going to follow up on a staff-to-staff basis as well.
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so I'm going to call the question on the motion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion is carried. Thank you. And now I'm on item 8H, which is the County Road 2 Water Sewer Project additional studies. Councillor Cameron, I believe you have that.
I do. Thank you. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that municipal council authorizes staff to proceed with the RFQ to have the additional work completed in order to finalize the design engineering for County Road number 2 Water and Sewer Project in Cardinal, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. And again, well discussed at the committee level. We know what we're doing here. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And so now I'm at item number 9 on the agenda, which is the receipt of the various correspondence received at the township over the month. And Councillor Hunter, I believe you have that.
Member myself, second by Councillor Cameron, the council received the correspondence listing for the following dates as previously circulated. April 6, 2022, April 13, 2022, April 20th, 2022.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Those correspondence packages have been circulated. Discussion, if any. Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. So now I'm moving on to item number 10 on the agenda, which is approval of the municipal disbursements for the month of April. Councillor Dillabaugh, I believe you have that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by Councilor Cameron that the municipality council approves the payment of municipality invoices circulated and dated as follows. Reported date March 29th, 2022 -44, $155,989.55. Reported date March 29th, 2022 -45, $1,497,521.96. Reported date April 20th, 2022 -53, $133,691.87. Reported date dated April 21st, 2022 -56, $220,635.01. Reported date April 21st, 2022 -57, $222,748.87. The total being $2,230,587.26.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Now, so the disbursement sheets have been circulated, and are there any questions arising from the disbursement sheets?
Yes, there is, Mr.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'm just looking for an answer regarding snow removal.
Page,
Well, it starts on page 75, but there's two. And I really don't want to get into the amounts or anything. I'm just looking for some discussion with the facilities manager. The people that are listed as removing the snow were not on the contract, or were not on the current contract or the contract before. I was just wondering why the charges are here.
Through the chair to Councilor Cameron, are you referring to page 75, EFT for snow removal of $140?
Yes, I am. That's one of them. And there's
Okay.
also another one for, I believe, for Sarah.
Right. Snow removal at the Cardinal Library, that's for the sidewalk.
Yes.
So the Cardinal Library retained the services of Miss Abrams to do the job. And then the library sends us the copy of the invoice and we pay the invoice.
Okay, so our regular contracts with those areas, then they don't do the Cardinal Library. Am I correct with that?
This is just the sidewalk only, Councilor Cameron, the sidewalk and the ramp. It's not for the parking lot.
Okay. Okay, so I'll belabor that at another time, but, and then I'm interested in the one at Sarah.
What page is that?
Pardon? I'm sorry, I had it marked and for some reason,
Is that the one to Mr. Garswood?
yes, it is.
Yeah.
That is correct.
That's one of our summer students that lives in Johnstown and goes and cleans all the exits when we have snowstorms out to all of Johnstown. It's not part of the parking lot, it's just the exits. And the ramp and that, make sure that when we do have rentals, that the place is secure, to be able to exit at all doors.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, no further questions on the disbursement. Go ahead, Councilor.
Mr. Director of Operations, the name I didn't recognize on here before, Brandon Tire, tractor.
Through the mayor, can you pay?
Well, it's just it's for,
Brendan's is the new shop, or not the new shop, it's the shop in off 401 at Cardinal. I believe that's the new name. Yeah. The old Peterbilt.
shop?
Peterbilt.
Okay.
That's correct. Used to be-
I
used to
thought
be
it
service.
was a new name and I wondered what it was. I knew they changed, but I didn't know what the name was.
That's what they changed to.
Thanks for the information.
And what is the new name?
Brand tractor. Is that what it's?
Yes.
Brand tractor. Limited.
All right, any further questions with the disbursement sheet before I call the question, Council, or sorry, CAO?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to note that that the resolution that was read out had changed slightly from the package on Friday. And it just in respect to the disbursement 2022-45. In the Friday package, the amount would have been $1,507,220.19. And in the resolution that Councillor Dilbach read out, it was $1,497,521.96. And that is just due to an error on page 73 of 101. If members want to turn to that page under Simcoe refrigeration, where the invoice number is W 18412. That was incorrect and it should not have been issued to Simcoe. We are in the process of resolving that error.
So any questions of Mr. Grant? The motion as read by Councilor Dillabaugh is correct.
Correct.
Okay, and I'm about to call Councilor Dillabaugh.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. On that, that's W 18412, Mr. Mayor, to the CEO.
That is correct.
So what was, it should have been there, $11,027.40, or the $9,698.23.
Yes, through the mayor, the $9,698.23.
Thank
Should not
you.
have been there.
Okay. Further questions? Or I call the question? All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. All right, so that gets us through the disbursement sheets. And I'm about to then move to the various bylaws, and we have a number in front of us tonight. And this bylaw coming forward is the 2022 budget bylaw to adopt the general government estimates for sums required during the year. And Councillor Hunter, I believe you have first and second reading.
Move myself, second by Councillor Cameron. Mover to grant leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt the general government estimates for sums required during the 2022 year. And this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions resulting from this motion? Otherwise, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now I show that that motion is carried unanimously. And so that motion can proceed, or that bylaw can proceed to third reading. And I'm going to ask Councillor Hunter to put third reading on the table now then, if you would.
Move myself, second by Councillor Cameron, that a bylaw to adopt the general government estimate for sums required during the 2022 year be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2022-22.
Okay, thank you very much. And before I call the question on this bylaw, I just want to make a few remarks with regard to our 2022 budget estimates. And this is a public meeting. We have no one in attendance, but I know that the minutes are recorded and posted on the township YouTube channel for public viewing. So the few remarks that I want to make go something like this. First of all, the township will have a residential tax rate increase of 2.81% in 2022. And that's necessary, of course, for us to keep up with our increasing demands in a number of areas. We've had some increase in assessment during the year, with the result that a 1% increase in the tax rate generates $60,955. And so a 2.81% increase in the tax rate will generate 2.81 times that $60,955. As a result, the levy increase, or the amount of money which we will collect from taxpayers, will increase by 1.64%. And although it's not strictly related to levy, the total revenue that the township will collect from all sources, including anticipated and estimated grants, will be $7,915,000. And that is the amount of dollars that we have allocated for expenditure to result in a budgeted balance from both a capital and an operational point of view. Now, the one thing that I did want to sort of make public is that this budget bylaw was on the agenda for the March meeting, and I had asked council to defray reading of this budget bylaw until tonight, because I wanted to talk to council about one specific item that had come to my attention at the end of the round of budget meetings. Now, the first thing I want to say is that we held, I think it was 6 open, public, and transparent public meetings to arrive at our budget estimates. And those meetings were all open to the public. The public could have attended at any one, and I don't know to what extent they're videoed and posted. But the one thing that sort of skipped my attention as we went through, and that I brought to council's attention during the interim period of time between last meeting and this meeting, is my concern with our estimate of net operating expenses. Now, our budget that we're passing tonight indicates net operational expenses of $6,713,000, which is $206,000 more than the 2022 budget estimates. But more worrisome to me is the fact that it is $626,000, in other words, over $500,000 more than last year's actual net operating expenses. So the point that I wanted to make with council during the interim period of time is that we may, as the year goes on and as we see ourselves under pressure to finance some rather ambitious drainage projects, we may have to revisit our net operational expenditures in order that we keep things kind of in balance. If budget estimates are nothing more than that, budget estimates. The last thing I want to say is that in our 2022 budget contains or finances 13 capital projects, which includes 4 equipment purchases and 2 very large drainage projects, which encompass 5 streets: Cedar Street, David Street, and Charles Street in Spencerville, and Mary Street and Sophia Street in Johnstown. And there's also a very ambitious Cardinal swimming pool upgrade program to replace the filter at the Cardinal swimming pool. So all in all, council has worked very hard with staff to arrive at these budget estimates. And now I'm going to call the question on the 3rd reading of the budget bylaw. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. And so now I'm at item bylaw number 11B, which is the bylaw which transfers some powers to staff should we become a lame duck council during the election period. And Deputy Mayor Deschamps, I believe you have that bylaw.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to delegate certain authorities during the 2022 restricted authority lame duck council period, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Okay, I have the motion on the floor here, and this is for first and second reading. Are there any questions with regard to this bylaw? And let me just say that the definition of a lame duck council is the period that it occurs when less than 2/3 of the members of council are running in the next election. That's the first definition. And that we will know that result on, I believe it's August the 19th. So about to call the question on first and second reading of this bylaw, which will transfer certain powers to staff. Those in favor?
Aye.
And the motion is carried. And then it was carried unanimously, so that bylaw can proceed to 3rd reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that a bylaw to delegate certain authorities during the 2022 restricted authority lame duck council period be now read a 3rd time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2022-25.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. All right, and so now I'm going to item number 11C, which is a zoning bylaw amendment for 112-114 Dobie Road. Councillor Cameron, I believe you have that motion.
Thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2012-35 as amended in brackets 112-114 Dobie Road out of brackets, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Thank you very much. And discussion, if any? Hearing none, about to call the question on first and second reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
And the motion is carried unanimously, and it can proceed, the bylaw can proceed to 3rd reading.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that a bylaw to amend bylaw 2012-35 as amended, bracketed, 112-114 Dobie Road, out of bracket, be now read a 3rd time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2022-26.
Thank you very much. And discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
And so that bylaw receives a 3rd reading. And I believe that's the last step for the Dobie zoning bylaw amendment. Now I'm at item number 12 on the agenda, which is the CAO's administrative update. And so what I'm going to do, I'll have the CAO present his update report, which we have, and then I'll ask Councillor Dillabaugh to bring forward the motion to receive and approve it. So, Mr. Grant, you're on deck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will start off by adding an item that I had forgot to put on my event update, and that's just on April 28th. We'll look to lower the flags to half to recognize the National Day of Mourning for persons killed or injured in the workplace. And on to the contents of the event update as put in the package on Friday. I just want to draw your attention to Bill 109, More Homes for Everyone Act. And in particular, there are a few changes that will be coming or will be taking effect July 1st of this year. And they relate to site plan application process, which will be a requirement to delegate that process to staff, which is currently done at the council level. And a couple staff members attended a technical overview session, and there are still a number of questions that we will need to work through over the next month to bring a more fulsome report to committee and council to further that discussion. But just wanted to sort of signal that is one of those changes within that bill as presented and that received royal assent on April 14th. Next, just the annual SNC Tree Day. So that will be held on May 7th this year, and township and SNC staff will be coordinating the drive-through style, same as last year.
Could I just ask a question on that, Mr. CIO? Where will the drive-through be held?
Through the mayor to Councillor Cameron, that will be held at the Ingredient Center between 9 and noon. And to register, it needs to be done through South Nation Conservation format.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Page 2 of the report under Treasury, just with respect to the 2022 dog licenses. Staff sent out reminder letters for all dog licenses, and I believe that there were close to 150 reminders sent out, and I believe that was late last week, and we've already received some members coming in to renew their licenses, and found out in a couple of circumstances that the pet has passed away since that time, but it does allow us to update our records. So on page 2, also the facilities recreation section, just wanted to remind everyone again that pickleball will begin at the Spencerville Arena on Tuesday, May 3rd. Some good news with respect to the Cardinal Pool. The filter has arrived, and Benson Pools, the contractor awarded for the project, anticipates to have the filter installation and the underground piping completed in advance of the pool opening. If you recall back at award, we anticipated to do the filter in advance of the season and piping following, but timing is lining up very well, so we're pleased to be able to have that completed in advance of the pool opening. Docks and washrooms with respect at the Cardinal Waterfront, the docks will be installed this week. And the portable outhouses will be opened up this week. We are waiting another week or so to open up the public washrooms at the canteen, as Mother Nature has forecasted some below zero temperatures over the coming week. So we want to make sure that that overnights are above the freezing mark before we open the washrooms at the canteen. Also, I'd like to note on with respect to Giant Tiger, and this was an initiation between Giant Tiger and the mayor. And over the last couple of months, the manager of parks and facilities has worked closely with the public relations team at Giant Tiger. And we certainly secured a new play structure and swing set that will get installed just west of the canteen building at the Cardinal Waterfront later this year. Right now, the timeline is probably looking at September-ish timeframe before we sort of receive the structure and get that installed. But once that's done, we'll be sure to do a grand opening of the play structure, which is great news, and it will be an accessible unit. The other note that I wanted to pass on was the Bell high-speed internet. I know that this has been an item that has sort of been delayed for a bit of time, but we are in the process of getting high-speed internet or Bell fiber to locations at the town hall, Spencerville Arena, and the fire hall, and hopefully have that all in place within the next week or two. Under operations, public works, just wanted to update that the half load restrictions were scheduled to come down April 30th. In conversations with the county this afternoon, the county is looking to extend the half load restrictions another week to May 6th. So we will look to be consistent with the county in that regard and extend our half loads for that duration as well. Page 3 of the report under Public Works with respect to the food cycler program. So we have all 100 units sold. The majority of those units were picked up on either Friday, Earth Day, or Saturday morning. So that 12-week program starts today, and the participants will be required to complete a sort of an exit survey before the end of July. Of operations, environmental services, I guess of note, the annual drinking water quality management system infrastructure review was completed for the Cardinal system and the industrial park water system. The lagoon discharge was completed on the Spencerville wastewater system over an 11-day period, and there'll be a report coming forward in, I believe, in May, if we get all of our sampling back in time to complete that report. Under operations, municipal drains. So as the mayor indicated earlier, with respect to the appeals, there have been no appeals received. So we will look to bring forward the third and final reading of the bylaw at the May council meeting to further our steps forward to getting that project moving. Under fire department, of note, under HR, just like to note that Mr. Ed Bruce retired on April 5th with 52 years of service. That the Joint Health and Safety Committee has been reviewing some medical forms with respect to outlining the physical demands of firefighting. And that will be looked to be implemented later this year. I guess the final item that I guess I'd like to highlight in the report is under emergency management, with Emergency Preparedness Week taking place May 1st to May 7th. And the theme announced through Public Safety Canada is emergency preparedness, be ready for anything. And we have, for some of the advertisements, we're working with the member municipalities throughout the county. And we will have some additional radio ads on the local station, working with the town of Prescott and the township of Augusta. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seal. So are there any questions for Mr. Grant here?
Yes.
Now, before I call the motion. So Councillor Cameron?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair to Mr. Grant. Mr. Grant, I'm under the impression then that the washrooms at the canteen will not be open on May 6th?
Through the mayor, we anticipate that they will be open by May 6th.
Okay.
If not, a few days earlier, just we're monitoring weather forecast. And
Yes. Okay, thank you. And you've answered the question at Giant Tiger. And I'd just like to make a comment that regarding the food recyclers, I was extremely happy and surprised and happy that they all sold as quickly as they did. It's a great program. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Other questions here? Councillor Hunter?
I have a few, through the chair to our facility manager, for our pool, the filters being in underground piping, there's that walls repaired and stuff will all be done, the whole project will be done before the pool opens, or?
Through the chair to Councillor Hunter. The project that we were doing this spring is the filter and the underground piping. It's not the inner walls of pool. We will be doing some.
Will be done until fall.
We'll be doing some maintenance of ourselves to do it. Any repairs, anything that needs to be tidied up, but that wasn't part of this project. That would be like phase 2, which would be what we would be putting in next year's budget.
This would be the liner to the chair to the facility manager.
Through the chair, that is correct.
It's a new liner for the
Yes.
Cardinal swimming pool.
And also through the chair to just Dave, seeing our fire chief isn't here, I see fire chief said members visit plant to look at go over the specs of our new pumper that we're ordering, and saying that we expect the chassis to arrive. I thought this was a reason we got a price on this. This was a pumper that was already available, ready to go. Here's that it's going to be built.
yeah, so through the mayor, if you recall correctly, we were able to secure that chassis in that amount. But yes, it is a unit that is going to be built. Will be received this later this year. So long as the chassis arrives in the April and May timeframe.
I was under the impression that this truck, that's the reason we went ahead and put it all in this budget, but it's already ready to be delivered pretty good.
Through the mayor, the plan was that chassis would be able to arrive in April and May, and the unit received within 2022 at that reduced price.
I think the point that the councillor is trying to make, and I was sort of surprised to see this as well. I sort of expected that the chassis was on hand, but when I reviewed the notes, I sensed that what we interpreted what we were told to mean on hand. It was on hand in the sense that the order had been placed. I see that now. the order had been placed and the company owned the unit, but the unit was not yet built. But that was not the impression that I had at the time. But I can see how that was maybe a misconception on my part.
And I think some of the questions we asked at the time when this was brought forward, if this unit for that price was gonna embody all the specs that we had first brought forward, it was a considerable higher price. The chief said, yes, it has everything on it, so it kind of led you to believe that it was already sitting there.
Yeah, so through the mayor, if I could attempt to, and I apologize certainly if that was, if there was some miscommunication in that regard, but I think the specifications of that particular unit formed part of the discussion. So those specifications certainly are met and will be pretty close to the unit that would have been provided in that package. It's just that the chassis was not on site at that facility. It was secured and could be built for that amount.
Yeah, and I think the point that the counselors, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I guess the larger point that I would like to make is that council sometimes makes decisions on the basis of urgency and opportunity. And when we sense opportunity requires a certain amount of urgency in our decision making, we tend to jump at when we assess that it's a good deal for the township. We tend to improve our decision-making timeline. So it's important always that staff be very, very clear with council so that we don't arrive at the wrong perceptions and make decisions based on information that is vague, or, I mean, because I did have the same impression as Councillor Hunter, but I can see where that's partially my fault, maybe from not asking the tight enough questions at the time. But just, I'm still glad that we made the decision, and I appreciate your clarification that the pricing that we undertook when we made the decision is validated and is going to remain in effect. So I guess that when you come right down to it, that is the essence of the decision. We are going to get the equipment at the price that we thought we were going to get it for.
Just one more question through to the CEO. You mentioned there, we sent a reminder letters out cash. And I think you mentioned 150 letters.
Yes, approximately, yes. Yes.
So basically, I'm assuming that we're only selling them roughly around 150 dog tags in the township.
So through the mayor, and I may have the treasurer jump in if I need clarification, if I do mess up on this particular part. But I think typically we would have sold around 300 prior to the sort of the pandemic, and the same amount of renewals necessarily haven't been coming in. So we've taken that opportunity with our new system that can generate the notice, the reminder notice, to actually take that opportunity and send out those renewal notices.
The reason I asked is that over the last 3 to 4 months, I've had an awful lot of complaints from different ones around the village here of dogs, numerous dogs are residents, and this is just a small village. I know Cardinal has a lot of them too, but if we're only selling 300 dog tags, I think there's an awful lot of dogs out there that aren't
Tagged.
being paid for that. Maybe we should be getting a little more compliance on them. And maybe we wouldn't have 3 or 4 dogs in a house if they hadn't paid the $20 or whatever it is per dog. There.
What's our penetration in the marketplace, in other words?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It never has been good,
No,
but there seems to be more and more people
ignoring us.
that aren't pet owners that, or maybe are cat owners or something like that. I'm frustrated with dogs barking on both sides and all day long, so.
Yes, and I noticed that coming up again. Further, is that,
That's all.
okay, any other? Councilor Cameron?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a follow-up question to Mr. Spencer regarding the phase 2 of the Cardinal pool. Now, am I correct in assuming that phase 2 is still covered under the current budgeted amount? Or is there going to be additional charges?
Through the chair to Councillor Cameron, it will be a separate charge. There was never a discussion about when I presented what needed to be done this year at the pool, it was that it needed to have the filter done and it needed to have the lines done. We didn't discuss the liner. That is a totally separate project and can't be, it wouldn't have been able to be done this year either from a time perspective from the contractors.
I could be, I guess I'm wrong, but I thought we discussed the liner and some coping as well. We were
Talked
not?
about just doing minor repairs.
No liner.
Okay. My mistake then. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a few questions of my own. You'll entertain me. So the first one concerns this Bill 109, the More Homes for Everyone Act, and the bill which proposes to delegate site plan control to staff. Is that the way I'm hearing your report?
So, Mr. Mayor, the site plan application process, it does look to delegate that process to staff, but in all fairness, still working on getting additional information and insight with respect.
Okay, but now is that, I know that there was an initiative at one time that site plan control would be extended beyond just commercial and industrial to residential site plan control agreements. Is that part of it?
Mr. Mayor, currently for any residential that has 6 or more units would come, as our bylaws now, does fall under site plan control.
Okay, all right. And I'm just wondering if it's that aspect of site plan control that the legislation proposed to delegate down, or does it propose to delegate down all site plan control, including commercial and industrial?
So, Mr. Mayor, on initial glance and upon the initial technical session, it would appear that it would be delegating all.
All. Well, that's an interesting development from my point of view, because on small councils like this, while we do delegate authority down, we'd like to keep ourselves knowledgeable about what's happening within the township. And I think that we have a rather robust process for handling site plan control agreements, which get them done a lot faster in our township than would happen in most other places. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, but I'll wait for your final report. So moving on, I just wanted to make note of the second item on page 95. That's page 1 of your report. The bylaw enforcement officer has been busy proactively identifying areas within the township that require additional compliance to help clean up the community following the spring thaw. Public information was provided in the March tax insert as a reminder to residents to extend their spring cleaning efforts outwards to maintain clean yards and offer assistance if neighbors are struggling. Additionally, the public was reminded to make arrangements to rid themselves of derelict vehicles during the spring cleaning. And I would just like to encourage the bylaw enforcement officer to be rather robust in his in that work, because there is still a lot of work to be done throughout the township to get things looking a little bit more appealing. And I'm especially concerned about our vacant and abandoned building bylaw. So I'm hoping that he'll spend some time on that as well. I'm going now to the question of the giant tiger. I'm pretty pleased to see that that project is now coming into a direct relationship between Allison and Mr. Spencer. I know that there was quite some discussion back and forth between myself and Allison to try to determine how this would work. And so just if I may, Mr. Grant, through yourself to Mr. Spencer, now the total project cost is approximately $25,000. Are they going to be actually doing the procurement and the receiving of the equipment, or are we doing that and then invoicing them back? I just wanted to get a picture of how that's going to work.
Yes, so the township is securing the purchase of the play structure through one of our companies that we've dealt with in the past. And when the project is completed, Giant Tiger will just make a donation to the municipality.
Okay, so but they will expect an invoice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
They have seen copies of the invoice.
Yeah. Okay.
And have given approval for both projects, for the play structure as well as the twin swing set unit that will be signed.
Good. I just wanted to clean up that loose end, because I did spend a fair amount of time. I think it was a real education for them to learn just how complicated and how much inspection revolves around play structures. And I spent a fair amount of time trying to explain to her that it was not a simple process, that she would require expertise, she would require your assistance, and that even after the work was done, it would have to be inspected by a third party. So I'm glad to see it's finally coming to roost. And one other comment, Mr. Grant, I'm so pleased to see your report that contracts for Bell high-speed internet have been signed, and we have high-speed internet coming to the office here. That'll be a great enhancement for staff and the public. And you're really expecting it over the next week, or is that sort of a tongue-in-cheek date?
No, I anticipate that they've started the installation process at, I believe, all 3 locations. So,
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
barring a major setback,
Yeah,
it can always occur.
And we know what those mean.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And so now Councillor Dillabaugh, if you'd bring forward your motion, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Cameron, that the municipal council receives the CEO's administration report as presented.
Thank you very much. Those in favor? And I declare the motion carried. Thank you. And so now I'm moving on. And the next item on the agenda is council inquiries, notices of motion. Does council have any inquiries here this evening? Notices of motion here this evening. Okay.
I have
Yeah, sorry, Councilor.
inquiry for operations manager. Had we been given an estimate of when the gravel contract will, when they plan to start spreading the gravel?
Had been in contact with Wells Curve, it'd probably be about the same time as last year, which was the first week of June.
That it? Okay, any other inquiries or notices of motion? Not, I'm moving on to item number 14, which is the mayor's report. I have a rather extensive report here this evening. So first of all, I just want to report that it has now been confirmed that the township will partner on the county contract for crack sealing to the extent of our crack sealing program of about $46,000, a little over. I just want to say that the county does encourage all of the townships to piggyback on different contracts, and I think this is the only one that we piggybacked on this year. But I'll just ask that question of Mr. Shaw. I think it's the only one that I've seen. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, that would be including the salt.
Oh,
Winter salt also this year.
salt
This
purchase?
is our last year, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a 3-year contract, the salt purchase
Yeah.
one?
This is the final.
So we get the salt, we get the county rates on our salt purchase?
Yes, very good rate, $99 a ton.
Okay, all right.
Very good.
Now, does the county run a dust suppressant program? My feeling is that they don't. We're the only ones that run, okay. The other one that we did run in the past, and I did have a phone call about it today, was use of Reclamate. And Athens and Elizabethtown Kitley are running Reclamate, how shall I say, Reclamate application programs this year, but it wasn't initiated through the county. So that, I just mentioned that. But I'm pleased to see that we piggybacked on the crack sealing program. Just for members of council, we did not run, county did not run a crack sealing program last year for one actually reason. We allocated the contract, and the contractor informed us in about August that he could not find the workforce to be able to execute upon the contract that he had been given. And so the contract had to be canceled. So we were quite pleased with the pricing that we got this year, and it is a different contract. Next item up. One thing that all of members of council should be aware of.
Mr. Mayor, I think Mr.
Oh,
Shaw.
sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I also with the line painting is also done.
Oh, okay. And did we piggyback on that this
We
year?
did.
Ah,
Except for Cardinal Township staff. Our line painting.
in Cardinal.
Yes.
Okay. And that, I missed that one, so thank you very much. So this is another one. As you know, counties runs a hazardous waste program. And in our township, the hazardous waste program comes once a year. We have held it at the county facility on County Road 21 for a number of years. And I think last year it was moved over to the Spencerville Fairgrounds, which was much better for traffic flow, etc. And my understanding is that we will use the county fairground, the township fairgrounds, the Drummond Fairgrounds again this year. However, the reason I'm bringing this up is because that's what we call an event-based program. It comes to our township once a year. And at County Council, we have just passed the resolution and a motion directing staff to put out an RFQ to move to a depot-based program. So in other words, we will be hiring a consultant to tell us where we should be setting up a number of depots within the United Counties where people can bring their hazardous waste at other times during the year rather than just one event. So I'm just sort of flagging that so that if you hear talk about it, you heard it here first. The next thing I want to recognize, and it's great to see it in color, is that Councillor Hunter's Pancake House made the top billing on the United Counties email e-newsletter on April the 19th. And a great picture of Councillor Hunter, and I just want to recognize that in the mayor's report.
Well done, John.
Hard up for news.
Big pardon?
They're getting hard up for news.
Well, I look at it the other way, Councillor Hunter. It's a good news story. It really is. So now moving on, I just want to talk a bit about a memo that the CAO sent out to members of council in the last day or so concerning Hands Road. And the potential and possible closure of Hands Road. I know I'm jumping ahead of where the CAO wants to be, and he's got an administrative problem to deal with, and I have a political problem to deal with. And so council has heard me talk at various times how important it is for us to try to arrange additional land on the south side of Hands Road for HFI pyrotechnics. The contract that they're hoping to secure is a major contract with the federal government, and how it works out, I have no idea, but they will require a lot of extra assistance from the township, and that's all I'm going to say about that at this point. Item number 5 concerns the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville tourism strategy as it is developing. So the counties has hired a consultant. The name of the consultant is 2031. And the consultant is holding a number of strategy meetings with various stakeholders throughout the United Counties. And on Friday last, after we finished the photo ops for Highway 43 and the courthouse apartments in Kempville, all members of County Council, all 10 mayors, with the exception of one who was absent, met with the consultant 2031 to discuss the opportunities that are available within the United Counties to be used, the opportunities that are available to be used as the basis of a tourism destination strategy. Now, the staff, Mr. Grant tells me, will be meeting with the consultant as well sometime in the near future. Do you have that date yet, Mr. Grant? I forget what you told me.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the CEO senior staff meeting is scheduled for this Friday.
This Friday. Okay. And, you know, county members of council will remember that when I circulated that notion, I did invite members of council, if they were interested, to attend with me that session this past Friday. But if you are interested, please signal to Mr. Grant, because I know that elected people are more than welcome to attend at these strategy sessions. And I think you'll find them very interesting. Item number 6 on my agenda concerns the job site challenge and our offer to purchase certain lands from Infrastructure Ontario. And I'm going to speak publicly tonight because actually, even though I've had my knuckles wrapped by Infrastructure Ontario for speaking about this, I'm at the point now where I think the public should know more about what's happening in spite of this, in spite of the non-disclosure agreement. So only to say at this point that I did last Wednesday night update council on where we were with our land purchase, and I had the opportunity of reviewing your instructions to me with our member of parliament on Friday in Kempville, and made it very clear to him what our council position was and is. And I've provided him with the maps that were reviewed with council here on Wednesday. And I've also provided him with the instruction that you gave to me. Where things sit, at this point in time, I don't know, but suffice it to say that if nothing happens before May the 3rd, which is the date on which the writ for the election will be issued, if nothing happens between now and then nothing will happen until probably August. And on item number 7, we already have received word from the Minister of Infrastructure for Ontario that we have been awarded a grant for the Cardinal water upgrade on County Road 2, and it's a fairly substantial grant, but it only applies to the water infrastructure. I know that MPP Clark is interested in making and a public announcement to that effect. The letter from the Minister of Infrastructure indicated that we shouldn't be making public announcements other than at our council meetings until such time as the federal government and the provincial government can agree on how they're going to officially announce this. So Mr. Clark is hoping that he's going to be the one to make the announcement, and it'll probably be sometime this week. And the last thing I want to say is concerning the Newport Drain. Once we pass the final bylaw to go ahead with the Newport Drain, that will trigger the United Counties to commence the project that's going to take place underneath the rail bridge on County Road 2. I think you all know what I'm talking about there. So I did have a discussion with the Director of Public Works, the County Director of Public Works, about a week or so ago, just before the funeral. And he tells me that from a county point of view, that project is ready to go. They're waiting on us, and they will be meeting with our staff later, I'm assuming after we pass the final bylaw, to see what the timing will be on that project. So everybody's up to date on those few projects. That's my report. And let me have a look here. I think Deputy Mayor, you have the motion to receive the mayor's report. You're muted, Deputy Mayor.
I am muted. Most people would like that. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council receives the mayor's report as presented.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Questions, if any? Hearing none, about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And that concludes the mayor's report. And we're at item number 15 on the agenda, which is the question period. So I see we have nobody else on the Zoom and nobody in the council chambers. So I'm moving to item number 16. We have no closed session. And item number 17, I need the confirmatory bylaw. Councillor Camp.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution be now passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2022-27.
Thank you very much. Confirmatory bylaws on the table. Discussion, if any. Hearing none. Those in favor? Motion is carried. And so now I'm looking for the motion to adjourn. Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Cameron. This council is now adjourned at 8:07 p.m.
Thank you very much. Motion is on the table, undebatable. Those in favor?
Aye.
And the motion is carried. Thank you.